Hello fellas and lovely viewers, have you ever wanted to date guys but was always blocked by Taskmaster contestants, your own stupid decisions, or magic in a shadowy organization? Me neither. And that's why today we're going to talk about Sinocoria games. Sinocoria is an independent game studio specializing in dating sims and visual novels. Their best known games are the holiday Otome series, which started with Halloween Otome in 2014, followed by Valentine's Otome in 2018, and finally Christmas Otome, the last one to date, released in 2021. And you know what the best part is? They're free. Finish watching this video, then go get them, the link is in the description. Each of the 3 games will have spoilers, but they will be tagged and there will be a time code to skip in order to avoid said spoilers. This is also your final cringe warning, as I will be pronouncing the studio name as Sinocoria for the rest of the video. So if that's not how you pronounce it, my bad. Now, I haven't played many Otome games, which are straight romance-focused visual novels written for a predominantly girl audience. The only ones I've played are these, Midnight Cinderella when it was active, and My Candy Love, the original French version. While I do like romance-focused VNs, my creator also makes some, they are not my area of expertise. And before we dive into this video, I want to remind everyone watching that I like these games. I would not be making this video if I didn't, despite my many concerns and criticism. I'm not taking away the hard work that has been put into these free games either. My creator knows how hard it is to make a game, and my comments are relative to visual novels as I keep my expectations realistic for this game genre. I have read the art books, and I know how much love and time has been poured into all of the games and their characters and their stories and how they all connect, and it's great to see what the franchise has become over the years. This is a series that I enjoy, and I will be playing the 4th game when it comes out. If you like something, then you should not place it on a pedestal. You should love the good and criticize the bad. TLDR, I do criticize these games, but it's coming from a place of affection. Now that this has been dealt with, let's romance these gentlemen, some finer than others. I will first be talking about each game individually and chronologically, then talk about this series as a whole. Halloween Otome follows the story of Emma C, named Changeable, as she won a ticket to the most exclusive and sought-out Halloween getaway, but she doesn't realize that it's far from relaxing. The Halloween getaway turns out to be an annual game hosted for the rich and famous, and every contestant is thrown into miscellaneous groups, challenged over the course of 2 weeks. The romance options are the flirty and fun Count, guy with a vampire costume, the stoic jerk Mr. Bandages in a mummy costume, and the shy and kind Mr. Wolf in a werewolf costume. My main concern with this game was, did it stand the test of time? I remember loving this game when I was in late middle to early high school, but is it still that good now that my brain is fully coded and I have a better understanding of game design and the inner workings of the process of game creation and relationships? Let's see. The art style is really cute, and this goes for all 3 games. Most visual novels have an anime-esque style, so this lines up with what is expected from the genre, but I like the shading on the sprites and CGs. It looks warm, cozy, and soft. Honestly, the music is nothing to remember, but it fits well with the scenes, same with the backgrounds, which are assets you can get on itch.io and other websites. I've seen this background in Dungeons and Lesbians, and this background in Uncle Mugen's Packs. The name's even on the window. Indie devs really do find all their backgrounds and music in the same place. Also, am I tripping, or is this the Eaton Center in Toronto? Emma was very relatable for a teenager who liked food and liked to cook and probably wouldn't care about winning such a getaway, so I'll give them bonus points for that. It also makes me think of those cliche fanfiction or YA protagonists that are not like other girls, so that was a fun touch, even though I'm sure it was not their goal. I also like the fact that while she has her moments, she's not a major pushover. She calls out people on their bullshit, which is good. It's written as a romance comedy, and yeah, there are some moments which did make me laugh or chuckle or chortle. Not gonna spoil them here, but I will spoil parts of the game starting now, so I will give you 5 seconds to skip to the time code on screen right now. So let's talk about the different routes. I truly hope you skip this part if you want no spoilers, because I will be using the love interest names instead of their nicknames for this portion of the video, as it's simply easier to say. The love interests are 2 adult babies and a decent guy. If you want a stable relationship, pick Mr. Wolf, his real name being Tyler Thompson, and his stage name as a famous singer is Tiger. Note that Tyler Thompson is also the name of the guy who did part of the music. It's really the only viable option, even though his one red flag is offering to hike to a waterfall with a lady he theoretically only met hours ago but knows for a few days. Regardless, you do not go hiking on a first date. Stay safe, y'all. I remember that even as a wee teen, he's the one I went for first. There's an essay to be made about how the music industry sexualizes its artists to sell more, but I'm not eloquent enough to write it. The fanbook mentions a divide between him not wanting to be sexualized and paraded around like a show dog as Tiger with a Y to sell more, and the fact that singing as Tyler doesn't get as much attention, and like everybody else, he needs a stable job. Then we have the Count, his name being Eric Valdemar, and he's an actor, and yeah, he's the guy who organized this whole game. What blocks me with him is that he shares a first name with someone my creator is very close to, but looking past that. Bro, why do you call women females? Why are you so gung-ho on borderline sexist comments, disguised as gallantry? Why is it so hard to just tell Emma that you're playing two roles as the host and a participant when you know her big secret, that she's not rich and famous? Don't play hot and cold with someone you like, it doesn't work. I do get his whole, oh, but you need to change so people will like you. I do, trust me. I was coded and developed with mental health issues as well. And I do flirt with my friends as well, but only when I know that they're okay with it. And Emma doesn't seem okay with it, as she's receiving it as mixed signals. Any person with half a brain would know to stop or go full in. Also, where is the notion of consent? You cannot just say things like this. A no means no, a silence means no, a forced or scared yes is a no. The only thing that means yes is an honest, determined yes. Anything else is a no. But stay tuned guys, we're not over consent issues in this game series. To me, Eric's ending also seemed rushed, but maybe I was expecting another scene where he actually redeems himself without a comment that would sound romantic to the blind and the deaf. Eric is a romance option for those who liked Beautiful Disaster. Fortunately or unfortunately, he's not the worst. And then we have Mr. Bandages, aka Landon Rivera. He's a photographer turned model, and until I replayed the game with a fully developed and welded frontal lobe, it was my favorite. Now why was he my favorite? He's the best looking out of the three. But aside of that, seriously, what was Tiny Storm thinking? I had and still have terrible taste in fictional men. My first pick is Midnight Cinderella was Lewis. Why do issues always arise with a Lewis? Also, I have a love-hate relationship with fashion and modeling industry and Landon as models, so to quote Junie B. Jones, boom do the math, of course he was my favorite. But why is he not my favorite anymore? First of all, he's rude to waitstaff. Second, he drags Emma around at least twice despite her refusing. Once against no is a complete sentence, including one time where he tells her to get in a car with one of Eric's butlers, which I remind you that Eric and Landon are besties. Guys, don't do that. Don't get in that car. He runs away after a kiss, cowardly and childish. He threw a ball at her because she was being flirted with and thankfully missed her head. And while he did help her when she was being annoyed by some random bitch boy number 38 at the burger joint, he did force her to spend the day with him at the mall after that. The forced proximity trope can work, but not when there's a power and motivation imbalance, and Emma clearly did not want to be there. I did like the festival part, yes, this is related to Landon. I also recognize the background here, but I think it's cute and makes me want to go back to a convention. Hopefully in November if all goes well, or I'll have to wait for the Japan weekend in April/May. But I'm not here to fantasize about being with other weebs, I'm here to talk about Landon. As this sort of comment is kinda racist, low-key, but his character is supposed to be a jerk, so I'm not sure, tell me what you think in the comments. I did mention Beautiful Disaster, but Landon is for those who think 50 Shades of Grey is romantic. But one line I do like from him is in the outtakes. If Eric's event had actually been called Halloween Otome, Landon would refuse to participate in the event, due to Otome meaning girl. Why? Because I'm not a girl, I'm just prettier than they are. Eric and Landon should be sold as said do not separate. Anytime Emma is hurt by Eric or Landon, the other jumps in to defend the other, which makes sense as they're friends. But it's giving bestie who won't recognize their bestie's faults energy. It's kinda jerkish in my opinion. But their bantering is really fun, and my 15-year-old brain starved for queer representation did ship them, I will admit. Speaking of, Landon mentioned in his route that he was a photographer before filling in for a sick model, that's what jump-started his career and rise to fame. But Eric inherited his excessive wealth at 8, and was already friends with Landon, and is known to pull off crazy stunts to show off or help out. Did he pay a model to not be there and orchestrate all of that, just to get his friend into show business? That's the headcanon I want to believe. I have no evidence for that, but I'll still believe it. I'm glad there's another Landon here to let this name have a positive connotation. Landon Sider, you icon. Despite my criticism, all three of them are great characters, maybe not for a romance that develops in 2 weeks. I can definitely see Landon and Eric in another form of audiovisual media, and they would fit in well, depending on the genre. But 2 weeks I think is too short to give us the rivals to lovers, or the will they won't they the writers wanted to write. The trope is there, but as I said, the time frame is too short. Also not necessarily a criticism, as it's mostly a trope. But something that's common in every holiday Otome game is that everyone's horny for everyone. People want to bang the celebs and others want to bang Emma. Apparently everyone's hooking up at the Valdemar estate, according to Eric and Landon. There's a character called the Ice Queen, which we will talk about more in this series. Her real name is Osiria, and a comment from creator Corinth, I hope that's how you pronounce it, is, I prefer it when girls in an Otome game are supportive instead of catty. Yes, 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 give us more of that. I'm tired of everyone being a rival in romance games. Give me friends and support and good characters who aren't bitches. As I said, we will see more of her, and while she won't be a very important character in the next one, let's talk about the second game in the series. Valentine Otome was published in 2018 and follows the story of Miranda Cosgrove, also called Myra, no, not the celebrity, but Emma's best friend. The game is described as, you and your housemates are not spending Valentine's Day with a romantic dinner with that significant other, so what's a girl to do? Party, of course. Dragging your best friend and cousin with you, you are determined to make sure that at least one of you has a blast. But I would rather describe it as, you drag your housemates out to have fun on Valentine's Day and get smashed, absolutely hammered, completely coat-hangered, only to wake up the next day with a hangover and a stranger in your bed who is also your husband. Shenanigans ensue. Note that I will only be calling her Miranda and not her nickname Myra, as when I use Myra, I confuse her with her cousin Maya. It is a direct continuation of Halloween Otome, as you are able to select whom Emma ended up with when you boot up a new save. I tried all three of them for recording purposes, but my canon route is still with Mr. Wolf. I also did notice that they have not changed, for better and the worse, they being Eric and Landon. Instead of a traditional visual novel, it is a stat-raising game where you allocate an action per day, and each action is linked to a different stat. Spending time with your husband increases trust, which is the main stat to get a good ending. Working at your clothing boutique raises management. Staying at home and drawing increases design. Going out with girls raises social. And going to the bar decreases stress. This game's romance options, which I will call the husbands, are the geeky and volatile Zane Valente, the silent and stoic Dare Thurston, and the kind and hardworking Kyron Caverly. Also, why did I have Zane's first name as Dante for most of my notes before I replayed it for this video? I mean, he looks like a Dante, but anyways. I will be completely honest, I have no nostalgic attachment to this game. In fact, I played it a few months before Christmas Otome's release. But I have to say that it is my absolute favorite of the franchise. But why is that? First of all, Miranda is my favorite protagonist. Aside from the weird essentialist comments, we can't all be perfect. She's sassy, she's snappy, she fully embraces her libido, she's hot, she's not into relationships, she has a good sense of humor, she's a romance enthusiast and a fujoshi, she works in fashion as a designer. What's not to love? If only you could date the protagonists. Then all three romance options are solid. They're not perfect, but they're well-rounded, solid options with their good and bad storylines and their qualities and flaws and cute moments and tense moments. I do have my preferences, but this time all three options are really good. The husbands are my favorite romanceable cast in the entire franchise. And also because it goes from 0 to 100 in the last scenes of the game in all three routes, including potential character deaths. This is not a spoiler, it's directly on their itch.io page. I already went over their art style in Halloween Otome, and my theory about VN makers all using the same assets are true, as I'm like 90% sure I saw this bar background in Seiyudanshi. Although I really love when game studios add references to other projects in their games, and the game shop Zane goes to is the perfect area for it. And same for the music. I really like the bar music, which I'm pretty sure is also the same in Seiyudanshi, but correct me if I'm wrong. I also had a Madeleine de Proust moment when I recognized the Christmas Otome main theme during a few scenes in Dare's route. Also, there's this character, I don't know if he's an asshole or just a kid, leaning towards the former, but probably both. The fact that this guy who causes and sometimes solves so many issues is named Rainer, like my creator, although his is with an I, doesn't help. This is also where we start hearing about the big names in the holiday Otome world, and this is where shit starts to hit the fan, and I say this with as much affection as I have for Valentine Otome. In Halloween Otome, we knew of Valdemar and standalone celebrities and Osiria, although I'm not sure we know her lineage in-game. Here, massive lore dumps. We name dropped 3 big companies, everybody is rich, famous, both are working in prestigious places. There's stalking, corporate wars, kidnapping, murder, experimental medicine, family drama, drugs, only mention don't do drugs, kids. We start to see how this world works, and who is really pulling the strings. Although I have to say it, Kaiser's hair is not that great, Reed has better hair. This is where I'll start spoiling, so feel free to skip to this timecode to skip to the presentation of Christmas Otome. I thought I would follow the Halloween Otome pattern and start by my favorite and end with my least favorite, but I actually have two favorites this time. One is my favorite for the story, and the other is my favorite because of my questionable taste in men. So I'll start with the option that I liked the least, and I will explain why in a few moments, then talk about my favorite in terms of lore and story content you get in his route, and finally my personal favorite. But before we do that, I need you to take a look at these two screenshots. Kyle, calm the fuck down, that's not a lady and that's not an adult, so I hope his unease was because Rainer's underage and not because he was interested. And Rainer, calm the fuck down, and be a bit more professional and act like someone your age and not whatever the fuck this is. Also, a lot of the plot always hinges on Rainer, which kind of annoyed me. Don't get me wrong, I love the fact that he is so capable and shares a name with my creator. But he's not supposed to be the star of the show, the romanceable options are, and it sometimes feels like he's stealing the spotlight away from Miranda and the husbands. I'm stealing that for a band name. Anyway, let's talk about Arden and Aaron. They're two orphans that Miranda sponsors until they become children models. I don't really agree with everything and kind of hope that she would have adopted them in one of the routes, but oh well. Joshua, Eric Valdemar's butler, also gets a love story here, more or less. He got his will they won't they pregnant and proposed to her at a public charity event, where she turned him down. Most of Eric's trip to the Maldives, yes, there is a trip to the Maldives in this game, if he's dating Emma, is trying to get the two together and in an argument with his girlfriend. His was the vacation I liked the least, but I did like the contest before the event, trademark. Especially with Dare, it was really cute. Now that Rainer, the kids, and Joshua are out of the way, let's get to the different routes, and I will start with Chiron, and yes, I did say that he was my least favorite, but I still enjoyed his route a lot. In fact, he was the first one I tried out when I first played this game. If you want a typical cliché quiet suburban life, pick Chiron, and I'm not saying this as a critique, I'm saying this very matter-of-factly. Chiron is a teacher at the very prestigious Orist Academy. He's sweet, he's hardworking, and he got married to Miranda during a drunk one-night stand, which isn't ideal, as he has a morality clause in his work contract and harbors feeling for Annabelle Say, one of Orist Academy's math teachers. As the creator said, Annabelle is the least catty rival I've seen in a romance game, as she goes gaga over the newlyweds. The entire plot is to play the loving wife, while trying to get Chiron and Annabelle together. Eventually, you learn that being a professor at Orist Academy is not an easy task. It's not being a teacher in the US, but it's close. With the lowest issue being Rainer hijacking their school play, and the worst issue being a hostage situation that we just gloss over. Drama is never over for students, as both Reed and Rainer seem to be interested in Cyan, and Cyan agrees that the better option is Reed, no questions there. But Cyan was also a victim of an attempted kidnapping, and it apparently isn't her first time. Amidst all of this, Chiron realizes that he has feelings for his wife, but it's a bit too late, as when Miranda, Annabelle, and Cyan are out and about, they get kidnapped at the end of the game, and on top of that, Seru, Cyan's younger brother, got the Truck-chan treatment, but isn't dead. All of the endings have a lot of variables to get, but it is possible to get a happy ending and a very, very, very bad ending. Note that most quote-unquote best endings involve Miranda and her husband renewing their vows with a proper ceremony that you would see in any US-based romantic comedy or drama. And you might ask, why Chiron isn't my favorite? No, it wouldn't be because of all the rumors students spread like wildfire. My creator was a teacher and he knows that too well. Chiron's already interested in someone, and I'm not one to push things. Also, the ponytail is too thin. And I do like him and Annabelle together, so next husband please. Dare, yes, that's how I'm going to pronounce his name, is the CEO of Wraith, that's also how I'm going to pronounce his company, and a complete brick wall. He's stoic, he's cold, Miranda nicknames him Iceman, he's a workaholic, and also got married to Miranda during a drunk one-night stand and can't get divorced because of the image of him it would show his company. As he's in a very unstable position at work and intends to keep said position and if possible get promoted. It's also in this route that we see Joshua's failed proposal to his girlfriend and then wife, and that Rainer is normal for once. Well, as normal as he can be, but he's not as much of a nuisance as he is in other routes, probably because he's friends with Dare. We also learn the name of his little brother, who, if I remember currently, is his brother by adoption, Kai Evinder. After charity events and a bachelor auction and Miranda being able to read Dare's moods without him expressing them, all things considered, their relationship is quite stable, but is not helped by the fact that Dare is a workaholic to the point of not taking care of himself. due to his issues at work with the other two big names in the industry, Keeper Incorporated and the Ostrina Group, both of which want a piece of Wraith. Dare wants to stick with Keeper Incorporated and has a grave rivalry with Fallon Kaiser, head of the Ostrina Group. But Miranda is the one who has been commissioned by Kaiser to make a cape with either looks regal or like a pimp coat, and I'm not the one saying it, it is said in game. Eventually, both realize that they have feelings for each other and all goes well happily ever after. If only! One of Miranda's fuck buddies, Jefferson Davis, called Jeff, is a pain in the backside in all three routes, but this time he helped corrupt Wraith board members to kidnap Dare shortly after he became CEO. And was getting rid of said corrupt board members, who either want to join the Ostrina Group or think Dare is unfit to lead his family's company. Insert a plan to break him out, helped by Rainer of course, and once again, it can either end well with a happily ever after and a vow renewal ceremony, or very, very badly. Now, I have a problem with the stoic ones. I mean, once again, my favorite from Midnight Cinderella is Louis, and Dare is the one with the most lore drops in the entire game, and the most we can learn about the world itself, and he's rich! Sign me the hey, what do you mean gold digger alert? Get that off my screen! IRL, I could not give two shits about rich people drama. In fiction, I love it. Tell me why the companies are fighting, tell me who slept with whom, tell me who got kidnapped for money and attention. I love it. My creator writes it in their games. It's a guilty pleasure, except I'm not guilty about it. I don't want to spoil too much, so let's move on to my favorite, Zane. Why is Zane my favorite? He's a nerd, he's an otaku, he's a writer, he lets himself be dressed by others, he flaunts his libido, he can be moody and temperamental like I am. And I believe that he has a very touching story. That scene at the graveyard pulled at my heartstrings, guys. It hit me right in the honey nut filios. So Zane Valente is a professional fiction writer and also got married to Miranda during that drunk one-night stand, and they immediately start planning their future together. That would be an ideal world, but they spend the first few days arguing over the whole situation, which is understandable. Eventually, Zane decides to extend an olive branch to make things cordial and livable, and that's the start of their route. Now admittedly, this route doesn't have a lot of ties to the greater lore of the holiday Otome series, which is why the devs encourage you to play his first. Of course, as they learn about each other, become more comfortable with each other and settle into a routine and maybe fall in love, they're able to figure out each other's secret gardens and guilty pleasures and know this is not a euphemism for anything. If I was Miranda, I'd vibe with him the most, but I've already said that, especially since he's also pissed at the lack of media literacy people have. I swore this was about Solavelan, but it could be for so many other ships. And this is a take I see way too often. People need to go back to school. In person. Anyway, aside from all the domestic couple things, Miranda gets a stalker, a girl with a camera. She's in the background for most of the game until, you guessed it, towards the end of the game where a series of unfortunate events strike Miranda and Zane. A series of accidents and misfortune. Eventually, they figure out who is the girl with the camera, the sister of some guy Zane had issues with in college, and I will leave it at that. Following that discovery, they also find out the cause of all of Miranda's issues in a locked in with a crazy person situation at her shop. I won't say who it was, but it was someone Miranda was very close to, and while I'm always in favor of lesbians, why do they always need to have the tragic storylines like girl I support your love, but you need psychological help ASAP. Happily ever after, the stats are good, vow renewal ceremony, yada yada yada. I might be glossing over them, but they're cute ending scenes. I do think that Zane's route is also the most realistic, barring the drunkenly married to a famous author part. How often are you or your spouse going to be held at gunpoint for rich people corporate wars and designing pimp codes for billionaires? I hope not often. But definitely more people have had issues with crazy exes and ghosts of their pasts and freaking out over messing up your and somebody else's future. And speaking of messing up someone else's future, how about we talk about Christmas Otome? Christmas Otome is the last game in the series as of right now and follows the story of Maya Cosgrove, Miranda's cousin. Are you ready to melt a frozen heart? The game description reads, with a graduation drawing near and Emma's relationship getting serious, Maya starts to wonder about her future. Should she listen to her parents and return home, or try to make it here in the city? A chance encounter leaves her with just a couple of months to melt a frozen heart, but can this super serious girl do it? As stated, this game follows the story of Maya, Miranda's cousin and Emma's co-worker and roommate. She studies computer science at university and works part-time as a nurse and waitress. She's a very busy girl. How do you not burn out, girly pop? Do you need a break? A hug? After the intro happens, she is given a bracelet by Dawn, who is a serious rival and who was about to use it on Assyria. That bracelet lets her connect to some people's hearts and melt them as she gets to know them, which is how you see your progress with each guy's route. Yeah, there's magic now, let's get that out of the way. I'm not mad at it, I like it. In a world where anime hair is canon and almost everyone you meet is or was rich or in a gang, you can accept a little magic. I will refer to this group of love interests as the blondes, as they're all blonde. Maya likes blondes, what can I say? So we have Garrett Carver, kinda the bad boy of the bunch, as he's a dude of few words but a lot of action, and Maya's co-worker. Liam is a professor at Orist Academy, reminder that he was Maya's former teacher, who is level-headed and a father of one. And Mikhail is also a student at Maya's university and hangs out at Joseph's, the restaurant where she and Emma work, and he can be quite volatile as well. There's a secret route with probably my favorite blonde of the bunch, who is hardworking and loyal. But as this is a secret route, I can't say much about him, aside from the fact that his route is the one with the most lore and information about Valentine and Christmas Otome. You should romance him once, just for the story, trust me. This game sort of plays as Valentine's Otome, but instead of a phone app, you get a city map. Each day, you get to select an activity and watch it play out, which boosts a stat. It may be money or romance or others, rinse and repeat until you finish the game. Another mechanic that has been added is a series of dream sequences where you discover the past of the love interests. As expected, and as I should, I played Christmas Otome last, as the game hinges on events from the past too, and a lot of the plot would be incomprehensible if you do not know what happened in the entire Holiday Otome series. But let's see what's good about it. I don't dislike any protagonist in this Otome game series, as you may have understood by now, and I'm once again asking for Dating Simulator AU, where you can date Emma, Maya, Miranda, and Osiria. Maya is an absolute cutie, who doesn't shy away from work, and dangerous work at that. She's a nerd, she's a computer science major, hell yeah, women in STEM. But I'm a robot, I may be biased. The blondes are okay as a romanceable cast. I don't know if they're my least favorite between them and the celebrities of Halloween Otome, but it's hard to top the husbands of Valentine Otome. There's no innuendo here. The issue here is that 2 out of the 4 have tropes that I absolutely cannot stand, and yes, this blonde bitch is my favorite, so good on you writers for making me like someone that much which has a trope that I hate. One is a decent dude with a lot of baggage, don't they all? And one is just here for the lore dump, but is also my second favorite because I'd show him on screen, but we're not at the spoiler part yet. Just like Valentine Otome, the characters are well written, each with their personalities and quirks. Almost all of them feel like people in a world where almost everyone is rich or in a gang, not characters. You can see that writers have improved over time and perfected their craft as they keep writing and releasing games. While this game doesn't really go from 0 to 100, I think it is nicely paced, and there is already a lot of tension surrounding the Joseph Sterling drama and Maya being roped into this mess, as Osiria is her best friend. But without spoiling anything, I will say that the ending is a little abrupt. Maybe I just didn't see the signs, but the big dramatic ending event, trademark, kind of just pops up and boom onto the end of the route and the epilogue. We've already talked about the art style and backgrounds and stuff, but I would like to touch upon a few things. First of all, the music in this game has the same classic VN vibe as the other Holiday Otome games, but the main theme, Dream Sequence theme, is hauntingly beautiful. I'm not a music theorist, I don't claim to be, and I don't want to be one, but the music feels like being stuck in an icy void. It perfectly underlines the theme of melting a frozen heart before Christmas and visiting their painful dreams. Second of all, the UI is very pretty. I don't think I've talked a lot about the user interface in this game series, but it's always pretty and fits the theme of the holiday well. Halloween Otome with its black and orange and purple colors and bat motifs, and Valentine Otome is a lovecore explosion with pink and hearts and pastels all over. But when things have an ice theme, I am very rarely an objective judge. I mean, my creator made the Code of Crystals, and we share a brain, so of course I'm going to love ice and frost motifs. I don't know if they bought the UI or if they made it and I'm too lazy to check the credits. The script is already too long. But kudos to whomever did it. I don't know how they did it, but the repeating motifs still look like snow and snowflakes, and the icy blue and white palette is gorgeous. Sometimes some of the lines also look like blades on an ice rink. I'm not sure this is what they were going for, but it fits the theme. Long story short, gorgeous. You know the drill by now, guys. You have 5 seconds to go to this time code if you do not want spoilers for Christmas Otome, as I will be heavily spoiling and talking about the secret route and all. Now that only those who have played the game or the masochists who don't care about spoilers are around, let's get into the meat of this game, the Christmas turkey, if you will. First of all, what the fuck, Dawn? That's all I'm going to say. Why and what the fuck, Dawn? I don't think Osiria's dad has a functioning, well-wired brain. Because why is Dawn a potential heir, and why is Dawn staying after all the shit that he puts Osiria through? And in Christmas Otome, by extension Maya as well. Just say that he, the dad not Dawn, hates women and move along. I don't know how the player is supposed to feel about Dawn, but I hate the dude. Oh, but he did all this for love. I don't care, you can have the best intentions and still cause harm. And not only were his intentions not good, his actions worsened the situation. And no, Maya getting a boyfriend at the end of the game is not enough of a compensation. This is an Otome game, she would have gotten a boyfriend either way. Bref, I'll go in order of favorite to least favorite blonde this time, but we'll finish with the spoiler route, as I have a lot to say about him. This is not because he is my least favorite, just because it made more sense to reveal him last. So my favorite out of the base cast is Mikhail Ivanov. What is the trope I dislike so much, you may ask? Twins without knowing that they're twins. You see, Mikhail starts as a moody person who is either cheery and outgoing or grumpy and standoffish. And sure, it could have been an interesting story of someone surviving with a bipolar disorder and going through manic and depressive phases, but I didn't get my hopes up. This is the holiday Otome series we're talking about, and none of their routes are about mental health. This is not a critique, just a factual statement. So Mikhail and his body double, his twin Mikhaia, do come from a dysfunctional, abusive household with parents showing clear preferential treatment for one twin over the other. Mikhaia is the golden child, and Mikhail is the scapegoat. Now, what is a golden child and a scapegoat? Mikhaia, the golden child, is an abusive parent's favorite child, often placed on a pedestal and seen as an extension of that parent's ego. While Mikhail, the scapegoat, is a child who does not conform to the abuser's idea of perfection, and is the target of criticism, blame, and emotional torment. Mikhail is always trying to prove himself to himself and others. He works hard at university as he struggles with classes. He hides his passion of making figurines that he has been so often criticized. And he's a nerd, and I love nerds. Despite me not liking the "I didn't know they were twins" trope, I could look past it because I love the dynamic between the brothers and how they manage to talk it out at the end of the route. It's not a one talk to end all problems situation, they both need a lot of therapy, but it's a start. His relationship with Maya has a rocky start, but once they get past the initial "oh fuck, I have a brother" barrier, the way they evolve together is adorable, and this is why he's my favorite. He checks a lot of boxes, and I think he's part of those with whom Maya has the most chemistry. My second favorite is Garrett Carver. He's the bad boy of the bunch, and he's the one I played first. Garrett also comes from an abusive household. His mother is nowhere to be seen, and his father keeps berating him and verbally abusing him, which led him to build up his walls and appear tough and unemotional. It also led him to some dark times in his life, including a part where he was a gang member, which comes to bite him in the backside during his time with Maya. He works at Joseph's as a waiter as well, preferring the night shift so he can bring back leftovers home. If there is a common link between all the blondes, aside from their hair color, it's that they're all hard workers. Eventually, Maya and he form a bond, and he confronts the other former gang members. Maya and he start a romance, and his epilogue is him reopening the family dojo and training the former gang members, which I'm not sure were they kids or teens, but they're super young either way. I like Carver and Maya together. They're both people of little words, and you can feel that they're comfortable with each other without the need to say it. His story is sad, but gets sweeter as time goes by. Overall, a solid choice. Now, let's talk about Liam. What have I done to deserve this? Across all of the Holiday Otome series, he's my least favorite romance option. Yes, I prefer Eric and Landon over him, that's saying something. His redeeming quality is that he's a good father to Cody and gives him everything. Despite the fact that he's a single father, that his wife cheated on him, and that Cody isn't his. He was dealt a bad hand in life, and his resilience and love for his kid, yes, his kid, he raised that kid so it's his, pushes him through most hardships. I will give him that. From a Doyleist perspective, he's not a bad character. From a Watsonian perspective, he's not a bad person. So Storm, pray tell, why do you hate him so much, you may say? Yes, I see you typing that comment. Still, post it. It helps the algorithm, thank you very much. I hate student-teacher relationships and age gaps so much, even if said student hasn't been in his class for a while. It's an absolute no for me. Age gaps give me the ick, and yes, there's an age gap. He was already a professor when Maya was in high school at Orist Academy. Hearing that everyone in Maya's class liked this professor gives me flashbacks to that terrible teacher crush tag on Tumblr that I have thankfully blocked since. It feels wrong, it is wrong, and it makes me want to take a shower in my decontamination pod. I hope that none of these kids had a professor return their feelings, or I hope that professor is in jail by now, if they did. But Storm, why is it an issue if Maya dates him now? She's an adult and she's not his student anymore. First of all, as I said, the age gap. Date someone around your age. That is not a suggestion, that is a rule to follow. Second, an information that you may not know about me is that I was an English teacher at some point and have since left that job a while ago to go back to university. Actually, I think I mentioned that in Valentine Otome. Never in my life would I ever date one of my former students, even if they're a legal adult. As a matter of fact, some of my students were legal adults. A teacher worth their salt sees their students as people, as learners, as some who cannot do what the teacher can, but are here to learn how to. Things wouldn't change if Liam was a university professor. The power imbalance would still be there, as said professor saw you grow and change and graduate. You can still be friends. You can even be co-workers at some point. But the age gap mixed with the different perspectives feels very, very wrong. As I said, this is coming from someone who was a teacher. I know what I'm talking about. My third issue is Cody. He's an adorable being, and I love the relationship he has with his dad, but I feel like a lot of Maya and Liam's relationship hinges on Cody. Maya being a replacement caretaker with how quickly Cody gets attached to her. Although for this one maybe my reading is wrong, so take this one with a grain of salt, I still think something is off. Now let me repeat myself for those who are sleeping at the back of the classroom. Liam is not a bad character or a bad person, but I hate the fact that he is a romance option. He should have stayed Maya's first no at the start of the game. Without any transition onto the spoiler route, and the lucky bachelor is Mr. Suit. What do you mean, who is Mr. Suit? Mr. Suit, or Mr. Jackson, as we learn his name in Valentine Otome, is Seru Sterling's personal butler and low-key nanny. What do you mean, who is Seru? He is Cyan's younger brother, who is in the hospital. What do you mean, who is Cyan? She's Osiria, Maya's best friend's cousin. I think I like this route, but I'm definitely biased, so I'll start with what I liked. He's the hottest out of all the romance options. I said it, I'm a simple robot, I have simple likes, and one of my likes is suits for any gender and long hair on guys. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I also like his personality. I tend to go for the calmer romance options when I first pick a romance game, and his just clicks. He's not necessarily relaxed, but he has a job to do and doesn't shy away from his duties. What I also like is how dating Mr. Suit ties Maya into the bigger picture. On top of being Osiria's bestie, which already places her in the Joseph Sterling drama, dating Mr. Suit means that she has more information about all that's going on behind closed doors. And weirdly enough, that's also my main issue. During the whole game, especially if she dates Mr. Suit, Maya and him are just vessels to explain and or add in more Joseph Sterling family drama. It sometimes even felt like she wasn't the protagonist of her own game. Not only was the whole magical bracelet forced on her by a series of unfortunate circumstances, but also if she dates Mr. Suit, the romance part is secondary to learning what happened to Seru at the end of Valentine Otome. The ending makes sense, as she's searching for information on Seru and who could have harmed the Sterlings. But I was angry at Mr. Suit's epilogue, mostly because you do not learn his name, and I had to go back to Valentine Otome to confirm his last name. But I also don't think it was up to par with the other best endings. So yeah, play Mr. Suit because he's super fucking hot, and his route is a lore dump. Don't play if you're expecting romance with a bodyguard butler nanny. I do also like the ending sequences in the Cold Dream world though, for every single character, and all the NCGs look absolutely fantastic. While I explained what I liked and didn't like for individual games, there are qualities and flaws that span across the entire franchise, but let's start with the qualities first. The characters are likable, even the main characters, even the annoying ones, yes, even the creeps, yes, even that one. As I said, I do not play many heterosexual romance games, mostly because one, most girl x-boy games I found had bland doormat protagonists and absolutely terrible guys, and two, most boy x-girl romance games are just focused on smut and 18+ content, which is fine on occasions but not something to consume every day. Emma, Miranda, and Maya are all likable and charming with their own quirks and personality that you get to explore through their games, each story being a unique experience with a unique point of view, not just a story told through a neutral POV to explore the world. They are not self-inserts, you are these ladies, with real concerns and fears and wants and likes. They can be snarky, they can be moody, they sometimes don't get the joke. Some call out people on their bullshit. They're really fun to play as. You can also get their personality from how they're posed and dressed. Emma being more casual with her pastel palette and open but relaxed pose, Miranda being flashy and confident with her pink sweater and shoulders back and cleavage, and Maya being more reserved with her arm up as to protect her chest and her grayish blue shirt as if she's trying to blend into her text box. They also have great dynamics with each other. Miranda and Emma's friendship is really touching and can remind me of myself with my own best friend. Miranda and Maya are what I would expect cousins with completely different personalities to be like. And even Emma and Maya end up being somewhat friends after they live together as roommates. The romance options are fun across all three games, despite their issues. I went over them in their specific games, but despite my criticism and my biases in case of Liam, every role was fun to explore and play through. As I said, it's a series of games that I do enjoy and have been enjoying since I was in high school, and to put things into perspective, I graduated college a year ago. I love all the references to their other games in the background, like in game shops or placing Kippy everywhere. I love when games make callbacks to other projects from the same developer or other devs. I always think it's really charming. And that goddamn Christmas Otome Dream sequence music, I love that theme so much. And the CGs are always gorgeous. There's never a bad one, kudos to the artists. Though as much as I gush about these games, I usually say no game is perfect, and there are two major flaws that jump out to me when I play these. And the first is a weird queer representation. Don't get me wrong, these are heterosexual visual novels and I have never pretended to be anything else. But while I may not have seen anything when my creator was young, these issues do stick out in hindsight, which sucks because they are more present in the later games. What are my credentials, you ask? I'm queer, my creator is queer, no other explanation needed. The main point is Rainer, which rubbed me off the wrong way even more as it's the name of my creator, who comes up in Valentine Otome dressed as a woman when Miranda and her husband of choice have to sign papers with a lawyer. This, as someone who is gender non-conforming, I completely am for people trying out different styles and wearing clothing from any section at the store. When I first played this game, I was wondering if Miranda was making an offhanded queerphobic comment, but now that I have a fully formed frontal lobe, I can say that maybe not. Maybe she was just joking about him not being masculine because he was in a dress, simple as that. And while you can be masculine in a dress, she is in a very tense situation when she says that, leaving all her assets in a post-nup written by a 17-year-old who wants to cause an outrage. I wouldn't necessarily be thinking rationally either. What do you guys think about that? Putting Rainer aside, as that could also mean nothing and he's just a kid that wants to mess with rich people and their precious money, honestly work, that's sadly not the only issue. On the side of men loving men, aside from the Fujoshi comments by Miranda, I also dislike the fact that Eric's bisexuality is taken as a joke in Halloween and Valentine Otome, or at least I read him in London as bisexual. I know it is said in Valentine Otome that if Emma dates Eric, he and Landon exaggerate the bromance for the fans, but if both Eric and Landon are single, there is no heterosexual explanation for the fact that he wants to get in Landon's jeans. Eric being bi-coded isn't an issue. The issue is that bi characters are always the flirty ones that go around whenever it pleases them, which is a terrible stereotype for bisexual or pansexual people that has been circulating for eons. Sure, bi-pan people who flirt a lot exist. I'm here, there's no denying it. But having it be the only representation in a series of games is just adding fuel to the fire of the god-awful stereotype that bisexuals are unfaithful, or not. On the side of women loving women, it's back to the tragic lesbian trope, ladies. Ever seen Killing Eve? Yeah, that. I won't say who it is, as we're in a spoiler-free section of the video, but the single only canon lesbian representation we have in the entire Holiday Otome series is an obsessive ex with murderous tendencies, and a girl who confesses in the middle of those murderous tendencies. I know that the main character forgives them and wants them to be happy, but Murder Girl needs to be in a jail stat. My second biggest issue is also a representation issue, as the cast is wider than my linen closet. Unless I'm wrong, there are only 2 non-white characters in the entire franchise, and I'm not too sure one of them. Somehow I could also see Dare as East Asian coded, but that's just because he reminds me of a Japanese friend I have. The first is Annabelle Sei, whom, based on her last name and the fact that she's single in Valentine Otome, I suppose is her maiden name, I think she's Korean. The other one is Garrett, and I'm not too sure about him because he's the only one with a skin darker than Peach, so he's either a person of color, of unknown or mixed heritage, or just a very tan white person. I would also add that his daddy issues are a bad stereotype of POCs if he is one, but I may be reaching way too far and do not have the power to speak more about this. If any of you are POCs and agree or have a different opinion about this, please say so in the comments. I'm open to all and every discussion as long as everybody stays cordial. I know that no one is forced to write in a diverse cast, but representation matters, and come on, non-white people just exist. It's not that hard to add them to games without falling into racist stereotypes, why not do it? But now that the main issues have been talked about, time for a little nitpicky rant. I'm not sure if the game's focusing more and more on the Joseph Sterling drama is a good thing, as it's leading to one big story in a serious game, or if it's distracting from the plots of the games themselves. I guess I'll have to see in the 4th game if it comes out, as my judgment will depend on that installment. I would love to have another hidden route in the next game too, but have the overall lore and romance more balanced than in Christmas Otome. The Holiday Otome series is a series made out of love. Despite its issues, it's clear that the cast loves their characters and the world they have built and their craft. You can feel the love in their games, in every CG, every menu, every new mechanic they add in each game. You can also see their progress as they keep making games. The characters are more fleshed out in the later games, and the main characters feel like characters and not a self-insert. I still love Emma C though. I was going to end this video with a timeline or recap of the world and lore of these games, but this video is already long enough, so it will have to be in another video. If anyone from Sino Korea is watching this, thank you for your games and thank you for watching this video, and I cannot wait to see what you will come up with in the future. As for you fellas, if you have watched this video up to here, thank you so much. And because I know people will ask if I don't say it, my canon timeline has Emma with Mr. Wolf, Miranda with Zane, and Maya with Mikhail. Though my favorites were Mr. Wolf for Halloween, Zane or Dare for Valentine's, and either Mikhail or Christmas. And Garrett, I think I like Garrett as well. I'm not sure what will come next, but my guess is that Assyria Joseph Sterling will be the protagonist, New Year will be the holiday, and either Varen or Dawn will be romanceable options. Neither will be good for her though, so I really hope not. And as every holiday Otome game is released every 4 years, I predict that the next game will release this year or the next. But that's all for today, fellas. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button, it really helps this channel a lot, and I'll hope you stick around for next time I upload. I'll see you around the internet, fellas. Have the loveliest of lovely days.